What's up, everybody? Welcome to TeslaFix. Today we talk about the big topic of the 10-10 event. We saw McDonald's even teasing this as well, being inside of there. We had last time Lars on the channel, and before that Alex Boyd talking about this all the time a little bit, like slightly. But today we're going to do a deep dive into this because I have a guest here that is so deep into this topic because he also has a channel. So let's see who's behind the curtain here. He's already laughing, so let's see who it is.
Welcome to TeslaFix. Make sure to subscribe and like this episode.
Of course, I had to bring Herbert Ong back on my channel, and you've already seen in the thumbnail probably that he's on, of course. Herbert, thank you very much for being on and talking about the Robotaxi, because I've actually abandoned my channel for almost 2 months now, sadly, because I was so constrained, and I still have my Cybertruck review even from the US in the backlog, and my FSD review of a version that's not any more relevant. But yeah, thank you very much for being on, and I'm glad that we can talk about the Robotaxi now, because it's the leap of technology that's gonna blow the rest of the competition out of proportion here. It's crazy.
I agree with you totally, and thank you very much. Very honored. I mean, two of the biggest things I want to talk about, of course, is Robotaxi Event and being with you. I absolutely enjoy you and your channel, so I appreciate this.
Thank you very much. I mean, yeah, I've been on your channel a couple of times, and I like the discussion. So please, everybody, follow Herbert if you don't already. I assume that you jumped over from him to my channel. It's the opposite. So thank you very much, Herbert fans. If you're a Herbert fan, please write it down in the comments, of course, to really get this algorithm going, of course. So Herbert, we've heard so many things about the Robotaxi, and I've tried in the last episodes not to talk about it because I wanted to talk about the Robotaxi with you, but I couldn't help myself. With Lars, I deep dived a little bit, but with you, I want to go that even further. So what do you think, first of all, maybe as an introduction, how do you think this technology will have an impact on mobility, kind of? What's your view on that?
So so I think this is going to be quite interesting because, as you know, I interview quite a number of other experts, both retail and institutional analysts, about what they're thinking they can expect in 10-10 Robotaxi. And I am one of the few that have very different thinking, goes against the grain, going against what everybody else is saying. I'm probably going to be very wrong, but I do think that some of my logic and my kind of my thinking may be correct in some way. So I don't know which way it's going to go, but it's fun because I am going to be saying a few things that I think is different than what others are. So yeah, this is the biggest event that Tesla's ever had in its history, except for the Model 3 unveil. Elon has called it one for the history books, and he's agreed that it is going to be the most important event since the Model 3 unveil. So the Model 3 unveil was so important for Tesla, right? Because it was the moment in time in Tesla's history where they were going to show that we're not just a niche automaker, but we're now going to go to mass scale, producing a product for the mass market. And it was also the time when whether or not Tesla was going to survive. It was the critical moment. That's why it's so important in Tesla's history. If the Model 3 unveil came out and it didn't resonate with the audience, with the consumers, the company would be dead by this point. Just couldn't make that transition. In the same way, this event is so critical for Tesla, because if they don't make this transition to autonomy, to Robotaxi, other companies could do that. And if whoever gets there first, it is the same thing. All other car companies will be dead. Whoever gets autonomy first, not just first, but are able to offer it in the future, you are dead. So that's why it is a very similar to the Model 3 unveil. And then I think the interesting thing is that because of the buildup, he's calling it, he's saying that this is one for the history books. It can't be more built up than that. It's working because almost to the T, every single institutional analyst are now talking about Robotaxi, are now giving Tesla the time of day to actually start modeling out. Like we just had Morgan Stanley for the first time actually show you unit economics for Robotaxi. The only institutional firm that's ever done that was ARC before. So they're now all expecting something that's going to be big. For it to be in the history books, it's my opinion that it can't just be an unveil. you can't just go there and show, here's a new car, here's a new program. It's got to be a program that is implemented. And I'm just going to arbitrarily say 6 months. If it's live in 6 months, something is live within 6 months, that is something that goes to the history books because it shows this is the moment when the world is about to change. And the reason why I should go to the history book is that history books, it's not just that robotaxi autonomy is so mind-blowingly important for Tesla, the company. It's going to change the world in many different ways. And then when he calls it We Robot, this isn't just about autonomy. This is about robots. So you combine robotics AI, how that's going to change the world. Like every city is going to change, your job's going to change, your life is going to change. The landscape of where you live and work and how you move, everything's going to change. And that's why it needs to be that.
I mean, yeah, I agree with you there. It's such a seismic shift, because they are solving so many things like real life vision. They also implement this into the Tesla bot, of course, and like you said, We Robot. The implications are there. 6 months is a steep prediction, and if people disagree, please write your description, anticipation, what you think, how long this will take to roll out. But I kind of agree with you because I think Tesla had a track record in the past of just pushing like timelines all the way. And in the interview with Sandy Monroe, actually, Elon talked like since then they are working heavily on this production line. So this means 1 year almost is passed now since they did that. So that's a lot of work already done, and I think it's going to be rolled out faster than we can imagine. Yeah.
I'm not saying that Robotaxi is going to be rolled out in 6 months, okay?
Yeah.
I'm saying
I know.
Something has to be live, whether it's the ability for you to, some people believe you can be able to put in your order to purchase some sort of vehicle, or it's going to go live in a very specific city as opposed to going nationwide. Or some people believe that there's going to be supervised FSD, supervised ride-hailing service, very similar to an Uber, that can go live sooner than later. Something needs to go live. And currently, when I ask the question, what event do you think that a company has done that meets that criteria of it's going to go down in history? I think one that people refer to is the Steve Jobs the demo when he showed the iPhone for the very first time. That one went down in history because, well, here they launched the product within 9 months and you could pre-order it within 6 months. And they actually not only showed you the product, but they demoed it to you, but then it was actually truly live. So it wasn't just some future thing. It was really a near-term thing. So that's what I'm saying.
Okay, good that you clarified. That's also what I meant, of course, like you said, like that something will be revealed. But I found it so interesting that analysts now are just catching up, which is ridiculous to me because I went to the US. I've tested FSD myself with Dirty Tesla together and also with Omar's catalog in San Francisco, and also tested the Waymos that are there available. Omar sent me one just as suddenly there was a car. I'm like, oh God, thanks, Omar, but what do I do? But it's so interesting also when people in the US are testing FSD and saying, oh, but this didn't work and this small slight thing. Guys, you are already witnessing kind of FSD in full force right there. In Europe, we don't have this privilege, and people tend to forget from the US that you are in the position of actually, you are in the forefront of this kind of technology. Nowhere else in the world is a system like this. You need to have that in your mind too. And now with AS coming out, like actual smart summon and seeing these capabilities, I was sure that they solved it when I tested it. I tested 12.4.1, and I'm like, yeah, that's it. I can talk about this all day long and interview nice people like you, but experiencing it was a switch in my head. I'm like, okay, it's absolutely done.
Exactly.
And,
you have to experience it yourself. And if you know that it is able to solve certain edge cases that it didn't do before, then when you think about that particular edge case and how they solved it, then you realize that there's no such, at this point, we don't know yet, but there might not be any edge case that it cannot solve in the future. You just need to identify, you just need to get enough data to support it, and then you need to train the system to learn how to deal with that edge case. But at this point, if it can do all these weird edge cases that it can do, why wouldn't it be able to solve that? And therefore, it's just a matter of time to just tick these things off. And the most important thing, of course, is critical disengagements, between miles. And you see the progress. That's all you're doing. So now you're going to get additional compute, and so you're waiting for it. We don't know when it's going to happen, but you know that it's going to happen at this point. It's no longer a theory. It's now just time. So I think all of us, like you say, the ones who are deeply following this, that's what we believe.
Yeah, absolutely. And also seeing the whole process of the Robotaxi and how this is unveiled, it's going to be such a different product. We've seen some concepts before, and I know you brought some slides, so I'm very excited for that. I think we're going to go into first the Robotaxi stuff we've already seen, kind of, and then we can go on with the great things you brought with you. First of all, I have this one. Oops, that was
sure. We'll come back to this. This is Søren Basher created it of what to expect on the We Robot event on October 10th. And I think he just did a great job because he explained, he did a survey with as many users that replied of what they think. And then what we'll do today is we'll go through each one of them, and I'll share with you what I think is likely or not likely for each one of them. But yeah, let's go to the actual cars itself. Let's go that. So I have a different theory than other people do about what we're going to expect, in that, people think that this Robotaxi has already been shared by the Walter Isaacson book. And they often think it's going to be this 2-seater, scissor doors kind of thing, right? And it's going to be cyber, right? So that was one thing, by the way, that I was predicting years ago. I said that, it's weird that they would do a Cybertruck production line and not copy that as for the future cars. And everybody said, oh no, Cybertruck is a one-off. No, it's not. So everybody thinks it's going to look like this. I don't think so. And the reason I believe is that I might be wrong. I mean, it's a bet, and it's just a fun bet I'm having with our friends. But they think that, if you're going to create a Robotaxi, the vast majority, over 90% of all rides is between two people, as one person, and the other 5%, 95% total would be one or two people. And that's it. So why would you create a Robotaxi that is bigger than just two people? And you would want to optimize for cost. So they want it to be small, compact, and these are the kinds of cars that they've been talking about, right? So here's an example of a potential look of a car. I don't think so. I think that a Robotaxi is going to optimize for experience, not for cost. I think that you can have, and there's ways I'm going to show you how they're going to be able to reduce the cost of a car, but it's going to be much more roomier inside. Like it's the inside interior that matters more than it being, it's got to be compact.
Yeah.
It's going to be a mobile lounge, he called it. And some people are going, yeah, it's enough, right? I'm lying down on a 2-seater. I've got all this space in front of me. I don't think so, but we'll see. So if you go through the images here, right? So some people think it's a scissor doors. It makes no sense to me that it'll be scissor doors. Possibly a falcon wing door like the Model X. But it's got to be easy entry and easy out. So maybe a falcon wing, but like this, more like this. Versus it being a scissor door. So that's step one. Is I don't think it's going to be a scissor door. And I don't think it needs to look like a car. Why does it have to have a front? Why does it have to have a back? Why does it have to have any of that dash in the front? Okay, yeah, they can turn that into a whole movie screen, maybe. I just don't think that this is the way it's going to go. So if you keep going down my photos, I'll tell you what I think it is. So if you go down my list here, so these are the photos we just looked at, right? So these are 2-seater, small kind of versions of what the car could look like, cyber-inspired. These are just versions of it, right? I just want to remind folks, this is what they drew up for 7 years ago when they did a demo, just a video demo of what Boring Company could look like. And they were kind of projecting what the future could look like. And they had this thing where under Boring, you drive through tunnels, and then as it goes to surface streets, it would just pop up. But this is an example of a bus kind of thing, right? Just one look that they drew. This is them making that drawing 7 years ago. I think it's going to be more like this, right? So like this is a Zoox where you have kind of double-sided doors and you walk in And it could be 2 people, but it could be 4 people. I've been calling it a London cab. I think this is a lot bigger than it's ever going to be. It's not going to be this big, but it's kind of like the same format. I think it's going to look more like this, right? And in fact, you can have 2 seats, but you can also have 4 seats if you needed to, and they can swivel or something like that. But more likely, they're going to face each other. So this is the kind of model I'm thinking it's going to be, where it can have up to, now I think it doesn't have to be this big. Like these seats can actually be hidden away and they're not there, or they can be popped out if you want it to be turned into a 4-seater. So you can create one car that can either be a 2-seater or it can be a 4-seater pretty easily. And if you look at the unboxed model, they showed this in their video of what the unboxed model is they build the rear, they build the front, then they build the sides, and then they all come together and connect them together. Well, my thinking is that why would you have a rear and the front? Why not just have exactly the same thing that can actually be either the rear or the front? So you take this back thing here, you flip it around, and now you got you build one thing, one giga casting, one kind of connection, and then you just flip it, and now you have the same thing in the front. And so now you have 2-seaters or 4-seaters, and then you have a small car. But if you want to create a van, you just add different middle parts. You just keep adding different middle parts to extend this vehicle. And so that's my theory of what they're going to be. So what I think they're going to present on October 10th is an unboxed model of a Robotaxi platform that's going to show you what it's going to look like if it's a 2-seater, 4-seater, or 6-seater, or 8-seater, or 12-seater. They're going to show you a platform that they can create multiple kinds of robotaxis. And that's where I think they're going to head towards.
Yeah, that's a pretty interesting theory, especially this one. This one really, for me right now, is like, it makes so much sense because you can really see it. It's just the back part. It just copy the back part to the front and suddenly you have it. And it makes so much more sense that you face each other while driving or can turn at least the seats around. It could even be, okay, now that will be crazy, but maybe even if it's stuck, it can just drive the other way and just drive the other direction.
Exactly.
Something like
Not that it can't reverse. That's going to be easy.
Yeah,
but why do you need a front
just
and
turn
back
the seats
if you don't have drivers? If you don't have a driver now people were saying, well, it's because of safety. Well, this is debatable because actually you can argue. I think the actual most safe is actually rear facing. But people don't like to face rear when they're moving forward. Yeah, sure. So then you can choose which seat you want to be in. But anyway, so that's my theory.
I think it's a good idea. Also, we've seen the improvements in the Model 3 Highland, which I own as well.
I do too.
Nice, very nice. Sadly, not the performance version. I was too early with ordering. Well, I would have taken the performance version actually, but hey, maybe in a few years. Yeah. But what I found so interesting in these developments that we already seen, the production quality is so good now, and this kind of production quality or even better one now in the Robotaxi would make so much sense. Also with the sound dampening, that's something. When you have road noise too much and stuff like this, I think this will make a lot of comfortability, and then facing each other, talking, and it's like a lounge. I can see that because they're so good also at reducing noise.
But it needs to be bigger than just you sitting in there. It needs to be able to accommodate, let's say, work. So you have desks. If you pull out a desk or something like that, or it needs to accommodate like we were just talking about 4 people. Like you can have meetings. This could be the new third place. Like when Starbucks was first created, it was like nobody had a base to meet. You either called them to come to your house or you called them to come to your office at work. And then Starbucks created this place. Well, why don't we meet at a Starbucks? And they created it so that it's easy for people to meet. If you're going to practically be driven and have entertainment, then you'll want to have as much space as possible. You want to walk in with your luggage. If you needed to, lots of space is what I'm saying. So anyways, I might be completely wrong because I'm just saying that why optimize for space and cost? Why do you do that when you should be optimizing for the interior experience? So that's what I hear when I hear mobile lounge, not this cramped place.
Yeah. Yeah, it makes sense.
Yeah.
For me, like I'm gonna be a devil's advocate here for 1 second because I think, of course, the compact car is also very important. A 2-seater compact car for Europe. I'm not sure 100%. They are the smarts, but they are not as popular. The most popular cars here are actually the 4-seaters that you have still. So
that was my point, by the way. If you hail a Uber today, even though that 95% are one person or two people rides, what is an Uber? It's typically a 4-seater. You have the driver in the front seat, then you have the back seat. Why do you need a compact car? Why not create the same car, but remove the people in the front and flip them around?
Yeah, and one thing also, when I'm traveling with my wife and my kid, then I have already a problem, and then I can't ride hail, which doesn't make sense. So I think at least 3 people need to be seated. 4 could be argued, but hey, it's another row, so it makes sense to just.
If we move on from the cars, let's go back to this bingo card here. You got the Wii Robot, right? And so the other theory that I have is that obviously Wii Robot is going to be Tesla as a robotics AI company. And so they need to present that. So not only are you going to have multiple form factors of the Robotaxi, but you're going to have multiple form factors of the bots. And so not only are we going to see lots of Optimus Tesla bots, but we're going to see that's a C3PO version. You're going to see an R2D2 version. Maybe even a third smaller version. Because the whole point that Tesla's trying to show you, right, is that what we really are is software. We are the neural network. And the neural network is the FSD that wakes up one day and it's a 2-seater robotaxi. Wakes up another day, it's an 8-seater van. Wakes up another day and turns out, I'm a humanoid form. But it can also be applied to any form factor, anything that has a camera. So why won't they then show an R2D2? Why won't they show even a smaller kind of a bot thing? I think that this is what they need to do, this to show that we've built this technology that can be applied to any form factor now. And that's why we are a robotics AI company. We are We Robot. So that's just another theory that I have.
Absolutely. I think this is such a great point. Tesla having or solving real life vision AI is actually so crazy that I think it's so overlooked still what's happening. Also in Europe, I can tell you that from my perspective that this is not covered in the news. Kind of, it's not big here, of course, because of I assume with our auto lobby and the pride that Germans have with kind of my theory is that their patriotism is tied to the companies because obviously patriotism isn't as popular here anymore.
Gotcha,
for good reasons.
Yeah,
But I think it's something difficult here, the market there, but technology doesn't care about this. If this thing is revealed and we have robotaxis in the US and we go there for holidays or something and just test it out and it saves lives, at some point it's ridiculous not to get this going here. And so I think regulations will follow suit. But yeah, this will be a game changer, and I think it's highlighted here very much how many variations we have, and maybe also the audience can play this bingo with us here.
Yeah, this is Basher, and that's the 2 big debates I've been having with my friends and others. I'm a lone person who's been saying what I'm saying, so I'm probably wrong. But the big one we've been debating is: do you think that on 10/10? They're going to have to launch something. And what are they going to launch? And so 90% of people I've talked to in the Tesla retail community, and even now, not just ARK Invest, now Morgan Stanley came out yesterday saying this as well. They believe that Tesla's going to launch a human-operated ride-hail service. So basically, anybody that owns a Tesla in the US can then offer it to be part of Tesla network, but I'm going to be in the car. So I'm going to offer it, but I'm going to be like an Uber driver. I'm going to be driving my Tesla using FSD or me driving it, picking up people. They would use the hail and it's going to be competing directly with Uber. But basically it's going to go head to head. And then sure, Tesla could lower the price to the consumer to compete against Uber. There's going to be another price war. Or Tesla themselves does not need to take a cut. Like Uber takes 30% of their cut. Maybe they don't take a cut and they offer that to consumer, but that's what they're thinking. And then they're going to do it nationwide. And I am wavering. For the longest time, for months now, I've been saying there's just no way. I don't see it. Why would Tesla go out and say, we're going to launch Robotaxi, but oh, by the way, it's not Robotaxi. It's actually human-driven, human-supervised. It's just a totally broken brand. Instead, what I think they're going to do is like Waymo, Cruise, going to go city by city and go, okay, we're going to do Waymo, which is a controlled grid, but it's going to be Robotaxis there. And we can have, some of the cars there too. Now, you can I get you that you can certainly do human operated. I just don't see it being done nationwide, because the argument they say is that Tesla needs to launch the app. They need to learn the edge cases, like the last mile, where to pick up somebody, where to drop them off. You still need that human there to get that data, that miles. That's what we're doing now. Why don't they do that nationwide to train it? And I'm going, well, you can do the same thing on a city by city basis, but to go nationwide, you're training your consumer to order a Tesla network car and that there's a person in it. Now, what has happened in China and Waymo and Cruise, they all did the same thing when they first launch in any city, is you do need to have a person in the car. That's just part of the rules. And then when you prove to the jurisdiction, you don't, your system works well enough, you don't need the person, then they say you must be teleoperated. You must have somebody kind of watching that car from another area, but they're watching it. They can control if needed to. And then eventually they can move off and say, I don't need as many of them supervising anymore. So that is still what's going to happen for Tesla. So I'm not saying that there won't be a supervised. It's just that I don't see that they're going to go out nationwide on that. And now I might be wrong, and I'm really wavering at this point because the other side argument is so strong. And now you're seeing ARK investing it. You're seeing Morgan Stanley say they might know something, that this is what Tesla's actually going to plan to do.
Yeah, I also agree with you. And you've mentioned a point here that's very important, is teleoperation. And have we seen teleoperation already in place? Yes, with the robot, of course, with the Tesla bot.
Exactly.
They're already experiencing testing out teleoperation. It's, of course, not the car. It's a different thing. But I think it's even easier to operate the car than the system that they use to train their bots or whatever. I think it's just makes sense. I think it could be like this. And I agree with you that they won't go nationwide, because if they have it in a restricted area, there are already cases where it's in use with Waymo, for example, and there are already processes in place where Tesla needs to go through some kind of, and having
if you do nationwide human operated, you don't need to worry about anything. You can just launch that tomorrow. It's basically an Uber. My point is that Uber is well-established, dominant player in the market for ride-hailing today. A new entrant, like even as strong as a brand as Tesla, can't beat Uber when you've got an established brand, unless you have three things better than them. One has to be price, but the other one is, in order to get the price so low, you need to remove the driver. And then that's why non-human can beat it. But if you're just going head to head, we both have humans, we both have cars, good luck. I don't see that Tesla's you can't guarantee that Tesla will win that market. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, sure. And it makes totally sense. And it will be off-brand. I mean, if they're so close to just having it autonomously, it would be off-brand. It would be like sad to see, kind of.
Yes,
if it's just for an approval.
That's what I said. I'd be so sad if that's what they did.
If it's just an approval process, I'm all for it. Just do it. But please, in reality, I don't want to see a driver.
Problem is, you and I are the only ones. 90% of people I'm talking to said for sure there's going to be human operated. Okay, so if we go down this list, right? Two-seater Cybercab unveiled. We just talked about that. That's what I am saying. It is going to be a two-seater, but I'm just saying that it's going to be, the option.
The four-seater
is a four-seater.
Well, yeah.
I keep saying that the London cab model. I could be wrong, but that's what they say. I don't think a compact car will be unveiled. But the problem with that is that almost every institutional analyst, they are excited for 1010 because they think that a compact car is going to be unveiled. That's the big issue, is that if it doesn't get unveiled, there's going to be the expectations weren't met, that kind of stuff. The Robotaxi wireless charging, I actually believe that when he said there's going to be two new things, that's why we moved it to 1010. I think it could be that it's the thing in the front allows the car to come up to some wireless charger, whether it's connected or wireless. I think that could be to truly show the vision of a robotaxi unmanned platform. You need to show how is it going to get wireless. The robotaxi cleaning solution, I don't think right now, but we've seen patents by Tesla saying, hey, the car can clean itself. It can use sunlight. It can use a UV light. It actually knows the pressure. It actually can watch every part of the car. And if it sees debris there, it can self-clean itself. And it can go to a cleaning area before it goes to your home again after you've let it out so that it's purely clean, sanitized before it takes for another ride. That's the patents. I don't think it's going to come out now. That's going to be just too aggressive. The robotaxi name, of course. I actually think it might be called Auto, A-U-T-O, just Auto. Call me an Auto because it's automatic. That would be the easiest, fun name possible. Just Auto. That's the Tesla network could be called Auto. I don't know. FSD better than human timeline. I hope that they do that.
I want to add something to the wireless charging because, of course, I need to mention that because Tesla acquired a company from Freiburg in Germany, a hidden champion again, because Germany has a lot of hidden champions. Companies that are very small or medium enterprises kind of, and they acquired that because I see that very much because they were working already on this technology for a long time, like I think a couple of years, 5 years or something like this, and then they got acquired. So I think they already have a solution pretty far out that they just kind of implemented, and I think we're going to see
people are saying, the other option is they'll use a Optimus Bot at the superchargers to plug it in. I'm like, I can't see that. Because somebody's going to steal the bot. How are you going to protect the bot? It just doesn't make sense. That doesn't make any sense. You just plug in and I'd rather have the snake that they did before. Okay, FSD better than human timeline. They have to share some facts, some numbers about the disengagements, critical disengagements or necessary engagements between miles. Rideshare partner announced, FSD license announced. I absolutely hope and wish that happens. I absolutely hope and wish that happens. This is where you've heard about maybe McDonald's, maybe it's going to be Hyundai, but it'd be really good. But it'd be huge. That's the thing for me, by the way. If that happens, that's more important for me than anything else in this list.
Especially for the competition, because I mean, we will have a monopoly already, but having at least sharing it. I think Tesla's also desperate to share it because, of course, regulators will step in at some point and then they will say, oh, no, we're going to break you down or break you apart. Sometimes companies are broken apart because of this. Yeah, he did say, Elon did say, right, that we have multiple partners we're talking to, needs to have at least 1 million cars, and we have a couple more, maybe even by the end of this year. So that's why maybe FSD license. So live robotaxi demo for sure. It gotta be done. If that's why they're doing it, Warner Brothers, almost guaranteed that will happen. Announced network take rate. I think they're talking about the FSD take rate. Don't know if they'll announce it, but it's got to be like, for me, if it works, it's going to be 100%. Announced Chinese rollout cities. Again, it's hard to say China versus US. Announced US rollout cities. So at least one of those two for sure they're going to announce. I think it's going to be US rollout cities. Roadster unveiled. No. It's going to have its own big giant event. It's going to fly. You don't want the Roadster to take over. Ain't going to happen. Grok in a vehicle absolutely needs to happen. As part of the robotaxi demo, you got to show the experience. It's gorgeous. It's got to be more fun in there than just a normal ride. Optimus. I would even add that Grok in Optimus, of course.
Yes, of course.
Logically.
That's exactly correct. Yeah. So showcase Optimus, it sounds like We Robot is multiple bots. Robotaxi app demo, of course. McDonald's partnership. That'll be fun. That one I don't know yet. That's weird because it could just be a marketing thing that McDonald's is doing. It could be that apparently there's a McDonald's 6 miles away from the actual event. And so maybe they'll just do a demo, just like when Steve Jobs, when he showed the iPhone, what did they do? They used the phone to call Starbucks or something, a pizza place, and said, "Oh, I need as many pizzas to service all that." They need to do some live thing. Maybe it is going to be the part that it could just be right. This streamer and it has his own thing. But it could be that. It could also be the bot partnership. It could be that one. I actually think it can be more likely a bot. I don't think it's going to be a Tesla Eats, like an Uber Eats, where it can pick up food for you. I think that's the future.
Oh, you're right. The bot is pretty interesting because what I've seen when I was in Slovenia, actually, I saw these kitty cat robot things that move your tray around, and I see that in action. So they are using stuff like this already, and this could make a lot of sense. That just
announce a partnership because it's called We Robot, and so we're gonna show you that we've got a partnership for the bot, we got a partnership for the car. We're like going ahead. Announce new FSD pricing. Don't know that one. FSD is interesting. It could be at some point they may stop selling it. I kind of lean to that one, but FSD pricing, sure. 4-seater vehicle, I just told you, I think the 2-seater, 4-seater, 6-seater, that's the RoboVan as well. Solution for difficult situations. I don't know about that one. Announce user pricing. They better start date announce. So all of these, yes. There you go.
Yeah. And one thing I want to add, and I'm very, very sad that CERN didn't put this onto this chart, and that's, of course, Starlink integration. Of course. I mean, we have already the small one for the backpack, or at least, you have seen that.
Very interesting.
I mean, if Scott Walter can mount his big dish into the inside of his window with just suction things, and I think it's small enough to just put it somewhere. I think it could be happening, and this one I could see as well. I'm missing that.
I just don't know. So obviously every airline is now announcing that they have that. You have full Wi-Fi access. You have full streaming. Is that what's needed though for the car? Like you can't stream movies unless you have that. That I don't know. But yes, it makes so much sense that they would.
I think it's for redundancy of the network. I think it makes sense, and I think a robotaxi needs to be live all the time. So I assume,
like it. Yeah,
I assume. I mean, have you heard about this?
I think a few people have said it, but I agree with you because if it's marketed for optimizing for experience, which is both work and entertainment, and if I'm going to use my work there and I'm going to do FaceTime calls, I'm going to do Zoom calls, I need to have high speed internet, not just 3G or whatever it is, right? So I can see that.
Yeah, it makes sense. Maybe not. Maybe in the future, but it makes sense to put a Starlink dish on every Tesla, of course. But I think because then when especially in Germany, for example, I mean seriously, when I drive around with my Tesla, or I am, for example, over the border, I live next to the Swiss border. When I move slightly near the Swiss border, my network needs to shift. It takes almost like 20 minutes because I'm so close to the border. This means it won't change, and then I'm stuck there. There would be Starlink pretty handy actually to have a connection there. So it's interesting to see what's happening here. So maybe the audience also can come in here, and I would recommend to everybody just print this out to reveal and just play bingo, because sadly you haven't got an invitations. So that's sad, but at least we can play bingo from our home.
Exactly. Yeah.
With a Sturmbasher bingo card here. So Herbert, what's your conclusion overall? You've already talked about the great points you have, but do you think how do you think this will have an impact on the global scale? Also for the European market. I mean, you said it. Companies that don't offer it will be bankrupt at some point. And because VW, for example, is still solving the electric vehicle and Tesla is solving mobility, and that's a different game. So what's your outlook?
So the reason I invest in Tesla is because I see time and time again, they have these ambitious innovation goals of something that's completely impossible, and then they eventually deliver, right? At some point they said the semi will never happen, and of course here it is. The Cybertruck can never be invented.
Gordon Johnson, here it is.
Just everything they're doing is just brilliant. The bot, all of a sudden, from a dancing costume to all of a sudden, one of the leaders in the space. So I am expecting that this is going to be a very important event. He's hyped it up so much, right? One for the history books. We're not only flipping a chapter, it's a whole new book. We are now all in, he said, on robotaxi or autonomy or this idea of a robotics AI company. And so it can't fall flat. It can't be just a demo of a car. It needs to be big. So I don't want to overhype it. And so that's the concern that I have. But he has overhyped it, and their own company has overhyped it. I wish that I heard more from people other than Elon saying that, oh my gosh, you guys are going to be blown away by what you see. But so far, it seems to me it's just Elon. So I don't know what's going to come out. It has to be big because it can go one way or the other. And that's where, I think that's why I've been saying this for quite a while, that I'm much more confident on the bots than I am on the robotaxi, because FSD is improving. It's going to be solved, but it's just the time frame. I don't know. But of course they have better visibility on that. But the bot, I can see that one, contributing and being such a massive benefit to Tesla as a company and the society. So I'm happy that they call this We Robot, because now the expectation is that this is not just about cars. It's about anything that they build will be able to be a bot, basically a bot that's got a brain. So I think if they include the bots there, I think that this is going to be, again, one for the history books.
Yeah, I totally agree. And with Grok integration, I can see it communicating with the bot, communicating with the car. Hard to beat. And also the software integration that we already have, and considering that it's not even about the robotaxi, because it's about the technology, because every car from 2018 going on, even the old cars that you can buy, I mean, there won't be any like second-hand Teslas available anymore. They will be bought up like crazy after an update rolls out, and then they still have their software margin, almost like they sold a new car, but it's a used car. It's amazingly crazy how much revenue you can generate with older cars that are sold for 15,000, because Tesla doesn't care about the secondhand market now when it's in the works already.
So I don't think robotaxi will be in full force until 2026. So it's still going to be a couple of years before we get there, and that's where I'm saying, what is the interim that gets us there? And that's where people are going, it's got to be a human-operated a ride-hail service. That's the easiest thing they can roll out. And so that's why I'm kind of on the fence of whether or not that is what they'll do. But they need to do something. Yeah,
and I wanted to also highlight here that this is what exponential this is what technology disruption looks like. And we had this. I mean, we had a ball printer, and suddenly the inkjet printer came and stuff like that. I mean, this is a slight one, but the scale that we are seeing now, it's like Uber worked so hard to get here, and suddenly it makes blip, and with an update, they're out of business, or could be potentially, and this, or they will have it, but in the long run, this is how innovation looks like, and even established brands.
For Tesla, this is something I've been thinking about a lot in the last 2 months, in the last month, I mean, is if you look at Tesla's businesses, all the different segments, they're all innovation, but we've been waiting for so long for so many of these individuals. But it feels like at this moment in time, right now, this October, a lot of things that they've been working on are now scaling. So if you go down the list, right, Cybertruck did not exist. Now it exists. And now in October, it's actually going to start increasing and scaling. Semi did not exist. Now it exists. Pepsi's told you it was a hit every milestone possible, and it's going to start scaling. Megapack factory was so slow to get Lathrop up. Now they're doing Shanghai Megapack factory there. Got the 4680 batteries. Was impossible. They couldn't build it. It was delayed. Now that's in scale. That's like 100 millionth they've created, and they're going to create more. Then you've got the Robotaxi FSD. We've been doing 4 years of testing this thing, and now we finally are going to hear the Robotaxi event. If you go down to anything else that we've said, the cars, we're waiting for, we're in between two growth waves, right? Well, we're actually very close to the second growth wave now. They're gonna announce the two more affordable cars, if not at this event, It could be this year, it could be in the first half of next year. Then you got the Robotaxi car itself, and the more compact car. Like we're that close to the second growth wave of just even auto. And then of course the big one is compute. We've got a supercomputer already, massive supercomputer built and ready to be production. The Dojo was for years, people thought it was dead. Now he's talking about it's actually scaling. The Buffalo, New York supercomputer, it's absolutely scaling now. And then you've got the XAI supercomputer as well. That's already ready for the Grok integration you've been talking about. And then of course the bots. The bots are now in the third generation, right? So we watched it evolve over the last year. And he said that after the third generation, typically at that point, if it's done right, that's the one that's going to go in production. And so, you know what I mean? Like we're that more with everything is coming like this. And when one innovation is going at exponential curve and another one is doing an exponential curve, when they hit each other like this, it supercharges both of them together. So like you were saying earlier, when the Grok becomes an AI becomes so smart, then of course that's associated with FSD training. Neural net is becoming so smart. You combine that with Robotaxi and these other things, and all of a sudden it's like, so.
Yeah, amazing. And it almost shadows the whole political discussion, in my opinion, because I love to focus on technology here because you cannot argue about this. It's not possible. It's data. It's just progress and hard facts. And the things that Tesla is tackling is influencing like the way we live so much more than just people discussing about politics. Because it's so interesting for me that energy, when you solve energy, when you have battery storage and energy gets cheaper, then the whole when you have can have a self-contained home, and in the US this is pretty much still possible, not in Europe. We are size constrained, everything is so expensive, it's crazy. And it's a little off here with the income median and stuff like this. It doesn't work kind of. So people don't own their own home. But you in the US have the opportunity to have solar on your roof. Yeah. You can have a battery storage. You can, I mean, we've seen it with the floods now, the things that were happening there with the hurricane season. Yes. That the Cybertrucks actually powered the home and stuff. This thing is really useful. And this will have an impact kind of, because those are the big ones. And also labor, I mean, with the Robotaxi, with the Tesla bot. Yeah, I mean, it's just a flywheel rolling, and this one has a much higher impact, in my opinion, than just discussing for the next what's happening in the next five terms. Absolutely. And well, thank you very much, Herbert, for being on. I think it was such a nice episode, a very fanboyish episode as well, because of course we are hyped as Tesla fans. You have to maybe find the middle ground here. People that are not in the Tesla space might consider this a little bit overblown. But my recommendation is just look into what's happening, look at the event, and experiencing the whole technology trajectory we are having right now. It is undeniably the most revolutionary times that you could, from the technical standpoint, have. It's everything comes together now, and I totally agree. And for the audience, I want to promote here one thing, because I found a very nice channel actually in the interwebs that I wanted to share with you, and that's this one. It's called Brighter with Herbert. I highly recommend. Oh, I haven't subscribed here. I should subscribe like you. Strange. Okay. Oh, of course, enable all notifications and like the last video he did with.
You did that on purpose. Thank you so much, John. You're so funny. You're so good.
Yeah, of course. Of course. I think it's a great channel. I love being on as well. And you've discussed interesting topics here, always the news, the new stuff. Yeah, I'm very confused seeing you double. I have to switch it up.
I was worried I was wearing the same shirt, but I'm not. So.
Perfect. All right. So thank you very much, Herbert, for being on. I really enjoy the time with you, and I can't wait to see the unveil. And we're going to talk afterwards, I think, again, for sure. In the weeks or whatever. And thank you very much for being on. And to the audience, if you have questions, ask. I'm going to force Herbert to come here and look at the comments. So yeah, thanks very much. And
thanks,
to everybody else, see you soon. Bye.
Bye.
Wasn't this episode awesome? Let's accelerate the pace of innovation by subscribing to TeslaFix. It is my absolute favorite channel on the whole interwebs.